In a previous challenge, we created a square using Scratch. We're going to use that square. I'm going to show you how we can copy that rather than remake this. It wouldn't be hard to recreate this, but we'll go through the process so you can see how we can reuse this. So here's a project that I had previously. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the bottom and click on the backpack option. So this is what's going to allow us to use our code again. I already have something in my backpack. I'm going to delete it. Just right click and choose delete. And if we want to copy all of this code or any piece of it, we just have to click on it and drag it into the backpack. And you'll see that now there is a copy of what we just put into the backpack. I'm going to start a new project. So File, New, and let's call this square function. And I can go down to my backpack and just drag that block of text, or sorry, that block of code into the workspace, and now I have it. I don't need the backpack anymore, so we'll just click on it to minimize. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to use Scratch. We're going to draw several squares on the screen. You don't need to do this part right now if you don't want to. I'm going to show you the long way to do this, and then we'll show how to do it maybe in a simpler and shorter way. So what I'm going to do here, this code will erase everything, it will put the pen down, and then it will move 100 steps, turn 90 degrees, wait a second, and it does that 4 times, drawing a square. So what I want to do is I want to move to the top left-hand portion of the screen. We'll draw a square there. We'll draw one on the bottom left and one on the bottom right. Before we do that though, in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the choose a backdrop. If you click on that, you get a whole list of backdrops. And if you scroll down to the very bottom, you'll see a Cartesian plane that labels the stage using the values that are there. So you can see the x values go from negative 240 to positive 240. The y values go from negative 180 to 180. And what I'm going to do is click on the blue motion. I'm going to choose this go to xy. And I'm going to move to the top left, somewhere in the top left. It doesn't have to be exactly top left. So I'm going to choose my x value to be negative 230 and my y value to be, let's say 170. So whoops, that'll put it near the top. Should put it near the top anyway. And if I run the code, what we'll do, yeah, we'll just run that. There's my square. I'm just going to change this wait. Instead of 1 second, we'll do 0.1 seconds so that we still see something's happening, but it can speed up a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy all of this code minus the when green flag is clicked. So I can right click and choose duplicate. And we're going to choose another square. And you can see that it just executed, but it drew 2 squares in the same spot because I haven't changed my x and y coordinates where I start. The other thing that you're going to notice is I put my pen down, but I never lifted it up. So you'll see that the pen traces a line as it gets to the next location. So I still want x to be negative 230. We're going to put this one in the bottom left. And so we will make this, let's say, negative 80. And if I click on the green flag, there's my first one, there's my second one. You know what I did is I erased everything. Let's get rid of that erase everything block in there. And now we'll have the pen, and notice here's that line that I was talking about. In order to get rid of that line, what we'll do is we'll just lift up the pen after we've drawn our first square. So our first square happens right here. I'm going to lift up the pen at that point. So click on the pen tools and we'll choose pen up, and we'll just drag that right in there. All right, that's square number 2. I'm going to do that same thing again. We'll copy, I'm going to grab another pen up while I'm here. And we are going to copy all of this, duplicate, and stick it down here. And this time I want to move somewhere into the bottom right-hand section of the screen. So my x value probably going to be something like, let's make it a positive 130, and the y value can actually stay the same. 3 squares on 3 parts of the screen. If I zoom out, you can get a good picture of what all of this code looks like. So it's pretty long, and really all it does is draws 3 squares, and much of this code is actually the same. Wouldn't it be handy if there was a way to just say, have a block that says draw a square? Well, it turns out that we can do that. So let me zoom in again so that you can read what we're doing here. I'm going to disconnect everything after that pen down. I'm going to leave it here because we're going to need most of it. If you click on the My Blocks toolbox down near the bottom of the list of tools here, you'll notice that there's an option now to make a block. So we are going to create a block. We're going to call it Draw Square. And we'll leave it like that for now. We'll come back, click OK. All right, so this is where, if you're going to follow along, this would be a good place to jump back in. Well, our draw square is basically all of this. Repeat 4 times, move 100 steps, turn 90 degrees, and then wait. So now we have this block that says draw square. We can drag that and stick it right here. So we've moved to this location on the screen. We've erased everything. You know what, I'm just going to change the order of those. I think I like the idea better that the first thing is that we erase, then we can move and then put our pen down. And then we draw a square. And then we should probably put our pen up, lift our pen up. And then we'll grab the rest of the code here that has us going at a different location. That would be this bit right here. So go to the location, put the pen down, and then draw a square again. And then finally we can go to our third location. Which is here. And we can draw a square. I'm just going to lift the pen up at the very end here. If I click on the green flag now, you can see there's the first, there's the second, and there's the third. I forgot to do a pen up somewhere. That would be right after my second square. The nice thing about this is you can get some immediate feedback. First square, second square, and third square. So you can see we've eliminated all of this code here. Everything that's over here on the right, we've eliminated. We don't need it, so we saved ourselves a whole bunch of time. We're just going to drag that back into the toolbox to get rid of it. All right, so we have now written this is what we call a function. This function has one specific function in this case, and that's to draw a square. And anytime we want to draw a square, we can just use the draw square block. Now you might be saying, well, how do we make draw squares of different size? So let's move on to that. If you right click on the define draw square block and choose edit. So far we have a title here. I'm going to add a label. And this label is just going to say, what is it that I want to be able to do? So I'm going to type in length here because I want to be able to see what the length is. I'm going to put a colon there. You don't have to, it's just for show. And then we're going to ask for input. So we're going to take, our function is going to take an input called side length. Let's call it length. So notice we've got a little bit of text here, and we have this circle, which is an input essentially. We'll click OK, and now you'll notice there's the function definition. It draws a square, it asks for a length, this right here, and now whenever I choose the draw square function or call the draw square function, it's asking me how long do you want the sides of the square to be. So we might choose one to be 100, a different one to be 75, and a different one to be 50. Now this thing here, this length that we just added in, is called a parameter. We basically say we want our function to have this parameter, whatever's typed in here. Let's see if I can highlight that. There we go. Whatever's typed in here gets passed into here. So we'll draw a square, we're going to type in this length value, and this length we want to change the number of steps. If we just leave that at 100, it will always draw a square of 100. So we take the parameter and we stick it inside our move. This will now draw a square that is whatever the length is, whatever these numbers are here, that's the size of the square it's going to draw. So just some terminology, this is the function, this is the parameter that we're passing to that function to say draw a square, but we want to make sure that that square has a length of 100. And if I click on the green flag, we should see now that we have a large, a medium, and a small square. So there it is. Now you might be saying, wouldn't it be great if we could draw squares that were different colors? And so again, we can just add more parameters to our function. Right click on that define draw square block. We're going to add a label, and this label is going to basically show us, remind us as coders what it is that we're looking for. So perhaps we want a color here. So we're going to ask for the color that we are looking for. So that's the label. I'm going to add an input, and this input will be color. Click OK, and now you'll see that the function has a parameter of length. It also has a parameter of color. When we call the draw square, we can enter a length and we can enter a color. Scratch uses numbers from 1 to 100 for colors. It's basically a rainbow. I forget which color it starts at, but you can play around with it and see from 1 to 100. So I'm just going to choose a few numbers in here. So we'll do 10, we'll do 50 maybe, and then we'll try 80. So when I call draw square, I type in a length and I type in a color. The length goes in here. Somewhere in our code, we have to change the color. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for this block that says set pen color to, and we're going to do that. We should probably actually do that before we get into the repeat. We don't need to change it every time we go through the loop, unless you want to change every side. That would require a little bit more work. But if we're going to change the pen color and just do it once, let's do it here. I don't want to change the pen color to 50. I want it to change to whatever was typed in as a parameter. So whatever, let's see if I can highlight that. There we go. Whatever was highlighted here, we want that to go in here, which then comes in here. So if I click on the green flag, I should now have 3 different colored squares. I don't know about you, but I have a hard time seeing that those are all different colors. So we might want to change the thickness of our pen. Right click on the function, choose edit. We're going to add a label. I'll call it pen size. And then add an input. We'll call it pen size. I just took the space out just to make it a little bit shorter. And now you can see that our function has a parameter called length, one called color, and one called pen size. There's another number input waiting for us when we call the function. And the pen sizes start at 1 and go up from there. I don't know what the maximum is, but it does go up, certainly to 15. So let's do every 5. Let's go 5, 10, and 15. So we'll call our draw square function with a different pen size, but we also need inside our function to actually change the pen size. So the last block in the draw menu, set pen size to, and we want to set it to whatever pen size is. So that parameter is going to go in here. And now if we click on the green flag and run this, we have 3 different squares that are 3 different lengths, 3 different colors, and drawn with 3 different pen sizes. So that's an introduction to using functions and parameters that go with those functions.